Bom dia, minha gente. Sou eu, Mick, o seu dinamarquês preferido. Estou aqui na cidade de Praga, na República Tcheca. E uau, que cidade bacana realmente. Eu vou mostrar um pouco dela para vocês e também vou mostrar um pouco uns interesses meio inconvencionais que eu tenho, que eu tento sempre ir atrás quando eu viajo e também no resto da minha vida, né? E esse vídeo vai ser totalmente em inglês, para você ver se você entende tudo, para você talvez aprender uma outra palavra nova. Não esqueça de ativar as legendas, se precisa. Ready? Set? Go!
Juntos, juntos, joguemos juntos uma praga de baiano. Juntos, juntos, joguemos juntos uma praga de baiano.
Para que tudo de novo? Vire tudo ao contrário. O pobre compre fiado e o rico pague adiantado.
Vamos bater os tambores, balançar as cadeiras, sacudir nossos planeiros. Que os dedos jamais foram feitos pra contar dinheiro, apertar gatilho. Juntos, juntos, joguemos juntos uma praga de baiano. Juntos, juntos, joguemos juntos uma praga de baiano.
Para que tudo de novo?
So, this is Prague, the capital of the Czech Republic, a truly fascinating city. For those of you who want to hear me talking about castles and historic events, I'm sorry, that's not really what I focus on when I travel. I'm much more interested in the vibe of the city, in its people, its nature, and the food it has to offer. Of course, I'll look at some of the tourist attractions, but you probably won't find me taking selfies in front of castles, monuments, and the like. What I did a lot in Prague was take advantage of the magnificent public transport system. I bought a 72-hour ticket, valid for unlimited rides in the whole city, on buses, trams, as well as the metro. Speaking about the metro, the few metro stations I went to in Prague have the longest escalators I've ever seen. It's kind of weird to stand on an escalator for around 1 minute, but weird in a good way. The 72-hour pass has an incredible price of only 310 Czech koruna. For this amount, you can't get much in other European cities, and in Copenhagen, for example, you can only get around 2 or 3 rides for this little money. But in Prague, you can go to any place you like, watch the local people and the tourists, and just relax while exploring the city. Believe me, there is so much to see and do in Prague that I would say that 3 days is not enough at all. I will definitely come back in the future. Not only because of the beauty of the city, but also because of its food. All of the restaurants I ate at were great, and the prices are so cheap compared to most other big cities in Europe. I didn't waste my time eating normal tourist food like burgers and pizza, but instead I had some simple but amazing Czech food, some Korean food, and I ate at 2 different Vietnamese restaurants. There seems to be a huge number of Vietnamese immigrants in Prague, and some of them have been so kind to open their own restaurant, giving us people access to their wonderful cuisine. I love spicy food, and Asian food in general is full of spices. I also got to try a Vietnamese coffee, which is surprisingly good, even for me who is not a big coffee drinker. How does it sound to you if I say that they make a cappuccino-like drink by adding eggs and condensed milk to their coffee? Well, it's superb, and if you ever get the chance, I think you should try it. Okay, that was the conventional part. Now I'll show you the unconventional part of my trip to Prague. I have been very interested in health for many years now. This has brought me much closer to nature than I was before, when I was still living a normal city life. For me, nature is not just something we should look at. We should rather interact with it, use it to our advantage, because once we use it to our advantage, we realize that it actually makes a lot of sense to preserve and even reconstruct nature. Using nature to our advantage doesn't mean cutting down forests like we humans are mostly doing. It means getting back to the ancient tradition of getting food and medicine and other things from the natural world. Also, we all know how important it is to exercise our bodies if we want to be healthy. Well, why don't we do it in nature, taking advantage of fresh air, energy from the sun, beautiful sophisticated shapes that make us intelligent, instead of those square and boring shapes that we mostly have in our cities. I have become very passionate about gathering wild food, getting food from nature, food that is not grown with toxic chemicals. It actually doesn't need any human intervention at all. Have you ever thought about why we humans are so weak and full of diseases, and many of us depend on medicine to survive? And it's only getting worse. Well, maybe it's because we eat plants and animals that need medicine in form of fertilizer, pesticides, hormones, and all kinds of other stuff. I personally prefer eating species that have to survive on their own, because I know that these species have more nutrition in form of vitamins and minerals than conventional, even than organically grown products. And more importantly, they have more energy, more power, and thus they will give me more power and energy and less disease. That was my little sales pitch. Now let me talk about my actual trip to Prague. I found a few herbs that I know are edible and had a few snacks while walking around. They don't always taste too good when they're raw, but back in Denmark I sometimes gather big amounts of different herbs to use in cooking or for making medicine. One place that made me fall in love with Prague is the park on Petrin Hill. Here there are several old orchards with apple trees, plum trees, pear trees and cherry trees. They look like they are not being used anymore. So even though this is not totally wild food, because it has been planted and cared for by humans, now, in 2018, the trees are left to themselves and are definitely organic and have to take care of themselves with no help from humans. Look at all these apple trees. I'm in heaven. Many of the apples are not perfect. They have quite some brown spots and some might have insects in them. But hey, you can just choose to not eat the ugly part. You don't pay for it, so you shouldn't complain if they don't look perfect like in the supermarket. They are probably healthier and tastier though. I even found a natural spring in the park on Petrin Hill. Not many people think about the water they drink, but I would say that it is at least as important as the food we eat. There are huge differences between different types of water, and the very best that you can get is the water that comes directly from nature, from deep underground. I always try to get me some spring water whenever I have access to it. The last part of the video is about another passion of mine. This is actually linked to the gathering of wild food. I'm talking about climbing trees. It's not normal for adults to climb trees. For some reason, we regard it as something that only children do, and when they reach a certain age, they just stop doing it. I have allowed myself to go back to this fun and healthy activity. I love it. I really feel free when I climb trees. And sometimes I can pick some fruit or nuts while I'm up there. In Brazil, it might be a bit more difficult because there can be poisonous animals anywhere in nature, but believe me, it can still be done. I really recommend it to anybody, especially people who are stuck in boring and unfree lives. Okay, that was all for now. I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, feel free to write a comment and like or dislike the video. And to sum up the video, definitely go to Prague if you ever get the chance. It's an amazing place, even if you just want to do conventional tourism. And if you want to get healthier, I think you should consume less things that destroy nature and make your body sick. Interact more with nature. It has much more to offer than we have been told. I realized this only a few years ago, and now, today, I'm a very different person than before.
Vamos renascer das cinzas, plantar de novo arvoredo.
I want to move more and more in this direction. And you?